aren't here for sympathy. They're here to tell the truth. In June of 2023, Mike got hit with a prostate cancer diagnosis. By last year, the cancer had spread to his lymph nodes and bones, and now he's staring down stage 4. But instead of rolling over, Mike and Summer are fighting back, not just against cancer, but against a broken medical system that's failing countless Americans. They're here to lay it all out, the good, the bad, and the ugly, so others can learn from their battle.
Boom.
Okay.
It's good stuff.
So good. I'm inspired.
Who are these guys? Can't wait to meet them.
Well, I think it would be best for you guys to kind of maybe start in June of 2023. Tell us a little bit about that initial diagnosis, then I think we'll work from there.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Interesting thing, I was looking into testosterone therapy because a lot of my buddies were doing it, and they said, man, you're working out so hard in the gym, but it's hard to gain muscle. So maybe your testosterone's low, So I go through that.
Well, real quick, when he says working out like hard at the gym, he's working out 6 to 7 days a week, hours a day. He does yoga every morning, and then he goes to the gym about an hour, lifting heavy every day.
Yeah. And I was gaining slowly. So at that point in my life, I was 182 pounds, which is a lot for me, feeling awesome, eating tons of calories, lifting real heavy, trying to stay limber with the yoga stuff. And okay, let's go to the next level. So I do this blood test. It's just par for the course with testosterone therapy. And PSA was a little high, which is the protein marker that they look into. Mine was around 6.5 to 7, where if it's above 5, that's where they start to turn their heads a little and say, hey, maybe we should look into this. Did another test to rule out, bad readings, and same thing. So he said, hey man, go check out my urologist. Awesome guy. I'm sure you don't have any kind of prostate cancer, but let's just go rule it out. So I go in, meet this guy, says the same thing. Man, you're really healthy. You're young. You'll be fine. There won't be any cancer, but let's just rule it out and do a biopsy. All right. So we go through that, and that was fun. And I go, if you understand what's involved,
that's a process in and of itself.
Woo! So, yeah, I'm going back and reliving it right now in this moment. So we go through it, and then a week later they turn around the results, and
I didn't even go to his results.
So such a small thing. You guys weren't thinking at all.
Yeah, the doctor literally said he bet his practice that he did not have cancer.
Wow.
So now you own a medical practice too.
Right.
We're really busy now. Doing biopsies all day. So, yeah, she didn't come. Usually we do everything together.
Yeah.
And especially this kind of stuff, like life-altering, changing decisions or news. And I got it. I'm good. I drove in, about 40-minute drive. I'm cruising over to Mesa. And as I'm driving in, I'm listening to Jordan Peterson's synopsis and deconstruction of Exodus in the Bible with all these scholars and script writers. And it's just this really amazingly in-depth process if you've listened to it. And as I'm driving in, the commentator, who I forget who it was speaking about the children of Israel, how they were literally in a circular pattern. And he said what it was, it was a manifestation of their mental game going on, their mental process of hearing bad news, but then they're free. So yay, they're moving forward, but this is a difficult journey. Mm-hmm. I wish we were back in Egypt because we had everything we needed. And they just kept going back and forth. And he said, yeah, it happens nowadays when we get a bad report like you have cancer. And as I'm driving, I thought, boop, hit pause. All right, God, what's this about? Are you just preparing me for something? Or that was weird. Hit play on the podcast or whatever. Drove in. Doctor came in the room. I've got good news and bad news. They're both the same. You have cancer. He just let it roll out like that. And I thought,
how do you?
Okay. And what was interesting is that what I feel like God did is set me up for the news because it didn't impact me. It was like an insulation. Mm-hmm. So I hear this news, and I just leaned forward and looked at him and said, okay, well, what's next? What do we do? And he kind of, I think he's used to the impact and the person crying and those all the emotions. And he said, I say, let's get surgery. Let's just cut that prostate right out and get her done. I thought, okay.
You know, in the meantime, real quick, he didn't go over our results with us. Like, we had gotten not just the biopsy, but also a bone scan. And he didn't go over those because he said the only option was surgery. We didn't even have any other options given to us. And yet now, looking back, we know that it had already escaped his prostate and was already in the bone, but he wouldn't tell us that.
At this time, at that initial...
Yeah.
That's what we think based on the
He wanted
bone
to do
scan.
the surgery so bad because he gets paid to cut.
Yeah. And in his defense, I always like to look at it from their perspective. That's his specialty. That's what he does. And he's probably amazing at it. So I believe him that he's really good at that. But my goodness, give me some time to think.
Yeah.
And what they did...
Yeah, we're doing this today, or what are we? What are you talking about?
Right now,
You got a back
later.
room? What we do? Yeah.
2 weeks after he told us.
All right.
Do I buckle my...
Yeah.
What do we...
Yeah. Can I get a second opinion? Yeah. When we get in the room, let's go.
Do you guys have any Novocaine?
Yeah.
Advil? Man, it was really fast. And what was an interesting part of it too is, hey, I went ahead and scheduled you in because it's really hard to get all my people. He made it feel like, hey, this is concierge service. If I was going to go the route, I think I would appreciate that. But this was all like, hey, can I digest? Like, here's your steak. Here's the main course of this whole meal and dessert and tomorrow's breakfast. All it is just piled in. I thought, oh, hold on a second. And I paused, hit the brakes, started reading up on prostate cancer. What's it all about? Okay, radical prostatectomy. What's that all about? Side effects. And of course, on the internet, you're going to hear all the bad.
Yes.
So I'm hearing all these horrible side effects. So what I did is I found a real good book where the guy broke down all the different treatments for prostate cancer. And there's so many out there. It can be confusing. And good and bad, pros and cons, objective point of view. And I thought, okay, it is not time to move forward with surgery. And when we let them know, that's where it was very interesting. It was a lot of backlash from the staff. Could you tell me why you don't want to move forward with this? But almost like I'm back in fourth grade. Could you tell me why you wrote the F word on your paper? Or could you tell me why you hit that kid? Or it felt a lot like that to me, like I did something wrong.
What's in it for them to kind of push back against you? Is there some kind of medical malpractice that they could be accountable for? Or do you think it was about money?
Interesting. Because I always look at that's a really good question. I look at these guys, and most of them started out in their practice because they want to help people. That's the bottom line. So it's all rooted out of that. They want to help people. And I think what happens, so I'm assuming some things here, because we just kind of fired them and moved on because we didn't like the vibe or the pressure. Yeah, they're going to make money off of the procedure, and he's got a machine he's probably trying to pay off. So, hey, we've got cars we're paying off. So I get that side of it. So maybe that's what's in it for them specific.
Well, let me interject. It wasn't like a little bit of bullying. It felt like we were literally cornered in a rock and a hard place. And that was the only option. Like, there was no other options given to us at the time by that doctor. And I think that that's what's interesting, because there's so many options out there. But he made it sound like if we didn't have that surgery, he was going to die.
Do you think that maybe he just didn't know what else was out there? Or do you think he's just so specialized in that? It's like, here's what I can offer you.
Well, we told him we were looking into other things. And he said, if you go that route, I will refuse to treat you.
There you go.
I will not treat you. And it was also interesting because he didn't give us all of the info. Who does that? Who withholds information?
What did he withhold?
The bone scan. So we knew he had taken a bone scan, but he said, I don't even need to go over those results because even if it has spread to the bone, you still need the prostatectomy or whatever you call it. And I was like, wait a minute. We should be fully informed, not withholding information so that we have the surgery. And then could you imagine if he had that surgery, it had already spread to his bone, his body would be recovering from a surgery, not protecting from spreading more.
Yes.
It just doesn't make sense to me. It sounds very much like manipulation. And I know because we are health coaches. We've been health coaching now for 10 years, and we've learned how to advocate for ourselves. We've learned that not everybody wants the best things for you. Sometimes you got to fight for yourself. And I think because of that, we went, whoa, pause. Just give us some time to breathe. And the pressure they put on after that was absolutely mind-blowing. And we were like, even if he needed surgery, we wouldn't go with that doctor because of the pressure and the way they pretty much bullied us to do it.
Yeah, especially because this is your urologist, you said, right? So oncology, not necessarily his specialty.
Right.
General oncology, right? He probably deals with the prostate stuff, but like for the good of the, like, do no harm, right? Like for the good of the patient, like, hey, look, I can handle the prostate thing. Probably a good idea to still go see an oncologist to kind of maybe, you know, like that's how I picture that.
Novel
Going,
idea.
hey man, you have prostate cancer. I can handle that, but I think you should go see an oncologist just to kind of, oh, okay, yeah, good point. Let me do that.
And it's not an excuse, but these doctors and medical professionals are under so much stress now because of the insurance companies. There's just a lot of pressure everywhere in the system.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so I'm not excusing him, but who knows what pressures he's under to make sure he can pay his people and to pay his bills. I mean, that's a real concern from what I understand now. So
Yeah, that's a really good point because he could hang with us in here. You guys would love him. As a dude, he's just a great guy. I really connected with him. That's the hard part for me.
Yeah.
As I began feeling this pressure, even though he was saying there's no pressure. And yes, this is aggressive. So the prostate cancer that they found was not just a little bit. It was quite a bit that has been there for a while. So that's the blessing in disguise of this testosterone therapy. And if there's any message right now, everyone, please pursue health. Do blood tests, pursue health in the gym, pursue health in how you're eating and how you're sleeping, because things can pop up. No matter how clean you're eating and how disciplined you are,
Well,
things are going to hit
you. Bring up rest and sleep, and actually the fire department's done studies, and sleep deprivation is a class 1 carcinogen.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's like, I'm glad you mentioned that because people don't, I want to sleep good because I feel better, but like it's so important for your health.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing we kind of skimmed over, and I want to make sure we bring attention to it. If we could have gone back, we probably would have not gotten the biopsy. And the reason why is when you look at cancer, like as in a tumor, a growth, when you biopsy it, it's enclosed. When you go in and you open it up, it actually has the ability to then leave. The cancer cells can leave the enclosure and spread. And when they looked at his results, further results, more scans and stuff that he's done, one of the doctors said that it looked like a volcano coming out of his prostate. That's where the cancer then started spreading through from the prostate to other places. So we don't know like definitively that the biopsy started the spread, but we do know he wasn't in pain prior. That biopsy, he was in so much pain afterwards. He was like, I thought this was just some little thing. It wasn't just some little thing. And getting to know other doctors, they're like, instead of biopsying it, just treat it like it is cancer. Just go, okay, your markers are up. It's cancer. Chances are it's cancer.
this is such a good thing to know.
Yeah.
Because most people have no idea. And I just heard this the other day. I don't even know where, but the fact of cancer spreading when you do a biopsy. And I saw like I don't know if it was an actual image or if it was a rendering, but how that spreads once you actually go into the cancer and how it basically, or go into that tumor or whatever it is and it spreads. It's such an important point, I think, to make because most people don't know, oh yeah, let's get a biopsy. Like that's your first reaction. Let's do that. Well, it's getting out there. Like this is actually fact now. This is true. You get a biopsy and before this cancer is contained to this tumor, let's say, you puncture that tumor and it can spread. It's such a hard thing because I do think, like you said, I think doctors, when they get in the profession, they want to do good things. Yeah. And the practices, the system itself in which they get into, those practices aren't always the best.
Yeah.
And to change those practices isn't always easy. It's just like trying to turn an aircraft carrier.
Yeah.
So you sometimes I'm sure you guys have like looked, who do I blame for this? And it's almost like you can't, it's the system's fault. You can kind of be mad at this person or this doctor, but they're kind of a part of this system that's broken that needs to be rejuvenated, I think. And
you can find out if a tumor is cancerous in other ways through other means of scans and tests. You don't have to biopsy. But again, it is the system. It is the structure. It's what they've been all been taught. It's like when you're taught to walk or tie your shoelace, we all do the same thing. And now that they're learning more, it's like that knowledge is power. So now we got to shift.
Yes.
And that's why we're like, okay, if we can just spread the word about what we've walked through and help others not have to navigate it. I honestly don't think he would be as far advanced in cancer right now as he is if we would have known some of this prior to going in.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the interesting thing too, when it comes to specifics to radical prostatectomy, that's where they go in and cut it out. They've progressed so well with that. They've got robotic machines that do it now. It's just small incisions and they pull it out through a tiny hole. They used to have to just cut you open. So there's been progress within that, and it is considered the gold standard. And I talked to several guys, old friends that have gone through it. A couple guys that have had that done 10 years ago, completely got rid of the cancer, and they're fine today. So it works. It's not the most horrible thing in the world. Those are the good stories. But the percentages of side effects, unfortunately, it does spread after because they're not able to get every little cell out of there. Sometimes it can spread because of the surgery itself. They're finding biopsy is another way. So it is a difficult thing because to a carpenter, everything is a nail. You got a hammer. To a hammer, it's time to construct and build, and this is what these guys do. When it comes to oncology, this is what they do and they focus on. So I think that's where the strength of our medical system is there are some very incredible processes that people have dedicated their whole lives to and have seen it save a lot of lives. And they're really good at that. So there's something that's strong about our system. If you're going to go get in a car accident, have a baby, those kind of things, man, I'm glad we're here in the States. But when it comes to creating health and new procedures, and it seems to be like we've got the parking brake on or something. Something is really slowing us down.
We're clearly in a system that doesn't benefit the consumer anymore. It benefits the insurance companies and kind of these institutions around, because there's so much money in it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not hard to see. That's not hard to see. It's not benefiting the consumer. Doctors, primary care physicians don't seem to be on mass trying to get you to eat healthier. They're trying to fill you with pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
And this is a real problem. And I think most just reasonable people see that. Yeah. Why isn't the government talking about just eat healthy? Why is our cereals on the food pyramid ahead of eggs? Like this is clearly wrong.
Right.
So, okay. You now have this biopsy. Tell us, continue your story.
Yeah. So here we are. What do we do?
Yeah.
Because if I don't do this surgery, and he mentioned, now what was interesting in one of the meetings, he did mention other procedures out there. And he said, oh yeah, there's this, there's a lot. If you look into prostate cancer, that's contained in the prostate procedures. There's so many, it's confusing. Basically, he said, I hate all those because I've seen it hurt people. And that's where he did say, hey, if you guys continue on with one of those, we can't work with you. And some of it you actually can't. If you get certain radiation done, you shouldn't have the surgery. So maybe that's, but it was a very interesting vibe in the moment, very emotional from him. Mm-hmm. And I thought, okay.
Well, we were specifically also asking him about natural paths and means. Like we were like, okay, well, what are the other options out there? Thinking if you're the doctor and the expert, you can let us know, like, what if some of this would help for him to move forward? And then we come back and do surgery or whatever. And he said, if you even think or talk that way, I will refuse to help you.
This is crazy. It's almost like natural means is an enemy,
Yes.
is a competitor
Yes.
of these of the
Exactly.
system.
Yep.
Like, I don't even want to hear this language. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
You don't want me putting natural things, you want me to put synthetic things in my body? This doesn't make sense.
No, it really didn't. And it took me aback because of how aggressive he was. It wasn't like this little calm meeting. He got angry at us. Like, if you pursue that, I will not help you. And so then what did we do? We went to pursue that. We were like, okay, something's up here. We're hitting something on the head. And then, but again, insurance doesn't cover, and the United States doesn't offer it. So we had to go to Mexico, which is literally the cost of a really nice car. So we took all of our savings and went to Mexico. And we actually, what was really cool is we had a lot of friends rally around us, and they contributed to us going to get treatment in Mexico. And we saw things happen there, like his, tumor shrink before our eyes. Literally from 3 weeks of treatment, because he was going every day. So I'll let you go into what that looked like, because it was really cool.
Yeah, that was a cool experience. And I'm so glad we didn't move forward with the surgery, because again, once that's done, it's done. And there are some crazy side effects when it comes to that specific procedure. So we're looking into everything, and that's kind of a scary place to be, thinking, okay, that's the gold standard. That's the thing that helps a lot of guys. But what do we do? So I found a book. I joined Facebook groups, cancer Facebook groups,
I
prostate
actually
cancer.
went live.
She went live.
This is how we found out
about it
about this
all.
place. I thought, well, one, when you get cancer diagnosis, I think the first thing that kind of comes to mind is don't tell anybody. Hunker down, isolate, like just focus on yourselves.
Don't make this anybody else's.
Don't make it a big deal. Right. And I felt this, I had to share it. And I had to live it out loud. So I was like, babe, I'm going live. I'm telling everybody. We first told all of our family, of course, but then I was like, I'm going live. And when I went live, all of a sudden, the outreach of people with knowledge in the area that had walked before us started reaching out. You got to check out this place. And we ended up going to the place called Hope for Cancer. And a friend of ours had been diagnosed with blood cancer. And she actually is in full remission. And because she went to this place, and we're like, whoa, what is this place? And then we went to Cancun.
Yeah. And that came about just by, like she said, opening it up to everybody. Hey, we need help. So, and I was all for it. Yeah, let's go live. Let's tell everybody. After we told the family, of course.
Yeah.
And it came up several different ways. So this person over here messaged us, hey, have you heard of this place? I have a buddy that went through, he's doing great. And then this person and this person aren't connected. We're hearing about the same place. And then a friend of ours that knows the daughter of the guy that started the place. Okay. And they were able to get us on the phone pretty quick. Did a consultation with a couple doctors there. They had already seen my scans and blood work and all these things and said, yeah, you're definitely a candidate. We'd love to have you. And man, what a cool experience that was, because it was a shift in mentality. So we're working with doctors that saw the problem in the system. Most of these guys trained in Mexico City, some in Cancun. And the guy that started it is from Colombia, grew up in New Jersey, crazy connections. And he's the one that would tell stories when he was in medical school of tumors. Anytime they would cut open a tumor, one time it was full of parasites or something horrible, and it was gross.
It actually popped open on everyone in the
So he has all these
the room.
Yeah. We'll have the nurses clean it up. He has these horrible stories of him getting initiated into surgery and when he was younger. And he said, I began stepping back and looking at tumors, for instance, and you mentioned it already. Our body created that thing. So what's in the tumor is something horrible and nasty, often cancer. Why are we cutting this open? Why don't we just remove the whole
Yeah.
Why are we? And that's where he got into the biopsy studies and showed us different studies. And it was great because we're in Mexico. He could just say what he wants.
Yeah, no restriction.
No restriction. Yeah, if we say this in the States, I could get in trouble.
Well,
But
what was really cool too is he talked about the whole person, mind, body, spirit, everything. Like it wasn't, we're just attacking the cancer cell. It's actually, we're going to treat the whole person. So he met with like counselors to go over his childhood. I mean, it was like in-depth counseling and healing and food. It was just every part of him. And what was also incredibly interesting, I found, was like they went over every exam in detail, full detail. So when they pulled up that bone scan, they saw a spot on his bone by his pelvic bone. And they couldn't get a clear reading because the scan was just so like fuzzy. I don't know how to describe it. It just was really blurry. So it was hard to see. But that was the first time I saw the look on their face, like it's out of the prostate. Oh no. And of
this
course,
was just what, a month later?
Yeah.
So that's why we're thinking this might have already been out of the prostate before the biopsy even. We don't know if that came from the biopsy. Did the biopsy spread it more? Possibly. It's all hearsay. We don't know for sure.
Right.
Yeah. So again, if I would have gone with the surgery, would the cancer still be in the bone? And would I be in the same place I am now when it comes to cancer, but even more deficient and battling through surgery and my body? Just glad we did what we did so far.
Well, back to your point too, you would expect, like, if you were to get the best care, it would be a holistic approach. What are you eating? What's your diet look like? What's your exercise look like? Son, all the stuff, right? Like, I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but it wouldn't just be like, hey, let's trap you in this room and zap you with radiation, and then we'll see you in a couple, whatever. It feels right to feel like, hey, we got to look at this as a holistic thing. Yeah. We got to feed you the right things. We got to get you the right vitamins. We got to get you the right minerals. You got to be not eating junk, whatever. Yeah. Exercising right, whatever that looks like. Yeah. That seems like the right path. That just
educating.
I feel like that's. I think humans just know what's right for us. Like generally, not from a science, but just from a an instinct. Yeah. We just have a sense of what's good for us. And I don't know, sitting and being zapped by radiation isn't always. It doesn't feel great. Yeah. Mentally. So
that brings up the whole process. This isn't a Hope for Cancer commercial or podcast, but I love that place because the whole mindset is, first of all, the building is pretty. It's in Cancun. We're staying in a resort across the street that's right on the beach. You walk into the place and they open the door and hug you. There's like a greeter
She's
hugger
a
lady.
greeter hugger.
That's awesome. Every morning.
Her job every morning.
And she's so cool. Kind and so sweet. That's like her life purpose is to hug these folks. And it makes so much sense because I had already gone to so many scans prior and several different doctor's appointments, and the vibe in most of those places, even if they try to make the building look nice, it's just a depressing vibe in the waiting room. And they hand you a clipboard. And again, the system, they're busy.
I'm getting nervous just you just saying that. I'm like,
yeah.
There's a smell too.
There's a smell.
It's weird. Like put some essential oils or something.
I know. Well, that's
like, I'm gonna get cancer just sitting in here. It's just in the air.
It's true.
I know. Do we all have it now? So
hey, 6 feet apart. 6 feet apart. Come on.
Now we're good.
Don't look at each other. Don't smile. Just everybody look down at your feet.
Oh man.
Gosh.
Well, so here we are walking up to this Hope for Cancer place. The lady's hugging us. We're walking into the place. It smells nice because they have aromatherapy.
They do.
There's it's like walking into a spa with an aquarium and fish. And well, hi, hi, Mike. It is so good to meet you in person. And this is the doctor I had talked to over the phone. Oh, hi. Oh, hey. And automatically we're talking about our life and family and getting to know each other. And they walk us through the whole place, and everyone just stops what they're doing and hi, welcome. And they're trained. So their system is understanding these folks are scared.
Yes.
They just got really bad news.
Yeah.
And we're here to take care of them. So we need to not only be kind, loving, and all the nice, squishy, fuzzy things. That's pretty important in a diagnosis like this. But they're also so competent and structured in the way that they operate their day. Man.
When people hear you go to Mexico for treatment, they're like, where are you going? You're going to the ghetto. And this is like, you're literally going to like,
we're in Mexico now.
The Hilton in Scottsdale. And it's like rolling out the red carpet. It's beautiful. And I think that was something that when we were there, we're like, why is this not in the United States of America?
And it's not, here's what's interesting too, is they'll describe the reasoning behind the way they do what they do. Because when our bodies are in like we were talking about rest and sleep, part of the fire department, that's a tough one, these rotating schedules. Rest is so important. They talk about that. And when you're done with your therapies for that day, hey, go out on the beach, please. That's part of our go fun. Play, have fun. What are you doing Sunday? Because we had Sundays off. It was 6 days a week of treatments.
But there's another thing too that people don't talk much about, but it's true. Like when you're in community and you feel good and you're communicating and you're not feeling isolated like we do in the United States, in a hospital in the United States, and stressed out, you will be healthier. So in Mexico, they seem to understand that. They greet you. Your stress levels probably come way down because you're already stressed out. Now you're going, like, you enter a hospital in the United States, it raises your stress, no doubt. Like the smells, just the feel is just so depressing. But they understand this in Mexico. You go in and they lower your stress level by talking to you. You're a human being, like trying to just connect with you. You have nice surroundings, not, that icky feeling Cold. You get. Yes. Yeah. That's just it gives me a little bit of hope for the future. Maybe the United States will wake up.
I hope so. That's what I'm hoping for. And maybe this is part of the reason we're going through what we're going through.
This is why
to help be a bridge.
Sure. Yeah.
Because again, there's so many amazing doctors in the States. And that's another side of this whole story that's been so cool. Even the urologist. Man, I like this guy because there's something about if it's a polar opposite view, sometimes I'll pause and look, man, they're passionate. Like they might be yelling at me or angry or mad on social media about something I posted, but they sure are passionate about it and they actually really believe to their core what they're saying. There's something I appreciate about that. And that's kind of how that doctor made us feel. He directed some of that energy towards us, but I think he has just maybe seen people go eat tree bark and then die because it didn't heal the cancer. And that's a whole other side of that.
I mean, there's people that have literally lied about doing natural means to fight cancer, to make money and profit off of it.
Right.
I mean, right now, it's a huge story from a lady in Europe who built websites and nonprofit stuff. And it was all a lie based on a brain tumor that she was saying she had cancer. And she cured herself through natural means. So there's both sides of this coin.
Yeah.
So we're definitely wanting to just help empower people to come up with what's best for them.
Yeah.
Do the research, check into it.
And it's not just inserting yourself in the American system. I just feel like there's probably some things in the American system that are good. Yeah. Like we're going to talk about here with some of these drugs, or whatever the procedure, the drugs that are here and could help you.
Yeah.
Those are in the American system. You just can't get to them. Like, so there's all this navigation that we have to go through, but I don't want to get too far ahead. So now we're in Mexico,
right.
and
navigation.
Let's go back to the beach.
I know.
We really have fun.
I want to go back. Actually, I would. We probably will go back because I think everyone should do these things. Half the things. Some of them are specific to that type of cancer, but maybe a day in the life would help everyone. So you walk into this place, they hug you every day, no matter what, you're getting hugged. And not from everyone, but especially the lady. That's her job. And then we immediately go into this, it's like a little church, and there's praise and worship. We're having church every morning. And the lady that leads it is what was her role? She basically runs all the machines. She has a very technical role. She makes sure every machine, everything's operating perfectly. They're stocked up. That's her role. And she's an amazing singer. And she would pass out these pieces of paper and we're going to sing this song together. So you're having a little church service together with all of the other patients and their partner. So they want you to bring your husband, your wife, or a sister or someone that they say that is very important. You need to bring someone with you.
What's really cool about this is none of this is required either.
Right.
It's offered. So they don't make you feel bad if you don't believe the same as the other people in the room either. So there was one lady who sat in on the worship service every day who didn't believe any of it, but she just wanted to be in the presence of everybody worshiping.
I bet it made her feel better too, even if she admits it or not.
Yeah.
As a DJ, right?
Yeah, she's a DJ
from,
and really
England.
well-known DJ who's been battling cancer. And she even asked us to pray for her before we left, which I just thought was so sweet because she doesn't necessarily believe the same things, but she wanted to be in the room. And it just shows how environment is so important.
Yeah. And like you said, with community.
Yeah.
So we would go through that and then we'd go out to our IV rooms and we'd have this big plush chair that can recline back with a table right here. and they would go over your schedule for the day. And if there was an IV attached to my arm, then I'll be sitting here for a while, or you could walk around with it to do a couple of, like I could lay in the red light therapy bed with the IV at the same time. Again, the competency and their structure, you're going to be doing this at this time, this at this time. And then the food would come, and they'd have this amazing, mostly vegetarian food. If there was any meat involved, it would be a little bit of fish, but it was mostly vegetarian. The reason for that is to reduce inflammation tremendously. So lower carb, lower calorie, and real clean. And is actually, according to studies that they did off of hair follicle tests they did for my hair, blood tests, and we had a nutritionist that walked us through what I should eat for me personally. I think it was Brussels sprouts was a problem for me, even though those are great for other people.
Thank God, huh? Thank God. I know. You were like, if I came all the way here to hear that, I'm in.
Garbage balls, whatever you guys call them, this out. Man,
The proper way to cook those is to put them in the trash can, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
like insert into trash. Man. And, you know, I'm looking at all these paths they took to help build my body. And that's their mindset. Hey, let's create less drag. So those Brussels sprouts are great. You can eat them. You're not allergic. But if you don't eat them, it's creating less drag. It's almost like the cyclists. That was it. The German there's the amazing story of the cyclists that were the worst, and then they won Tour de France because they learned how to wear better socks, things like that. That's
The little things.
Yeah, all the little things that compile together. So let's talk about your sleep. And we're health coaches, so they were pretty impressed by our structure. We'd been doing it a decade at that time. So they said, oh, you're doing so well. You're going to be fine. You're doing great. But you could tweak this. So we learned even more. So we'd go through the day and I'd get all sorts. I mean, I could go for hours on all the therapies.
Well, and we
different
could probably
things.
talk about it for the whole time.
Yeah,
we're here.
it's fascinating. But the whole mindset there that I came away from is positivity, truth based on scans. So, hey, here's where we're at, because we eventually did get to the point where we found my PSA rising and they were concerned. Why is it rising? Even though we did see tumors shrinking according.
What's PSA?
PSA is a blood marker that every man.
Prostate specific antigen.
That's it. And if you're 0 to 5, that's pretty good. Most guys are going to be 0, maybe 1 or 2 on average. When you get above 5 on the marker, so that's the sliding scale of PSA, that's where they begin to look into it. And mine went from 7 when we first tested all the way to 118, I believe was the highest it had gotten to. And when it was up that high, that's where, again, I'm thankful for what we have here in the States. The doctor, so we went back for follow-up in Tijuana, Mexico, where they have another clinic. And the doctor there said, it might be time to look into some traditional therapies and bring out some of the big guns that might be needed. So they're not opposed to radiation, chemotherapy, and these things that we have here in the States or around the world, but with caution and lots of research.
Yeah.
And that's what led us, 3 weeks of all those treatments and going through those things and learning so much and seeing tumors actually shrink according to the ultrasound test. So they did it before and after. Mm-hmm. Wow, this many centimeters. Oh my goodness. And PSA went down. Wow, you're doing great. And did my own home protocols for about 6 months of eating vegetarian, a little bit of fish, pescatarian. And no coffee was one of the issues, which coffee doesn't cause cancer because I love coffee right now. And the dude's Colombian, so he said, we love our coffee. Yeah. But little things like that, little tweaks, let's just get your body operating real clean. And coffee can sometimes spike the cortisol, things like that.
You think you would just again think that having your body at tip-top shape is going to be one of the best ways to fight.
Yeah.
Even if you're doing some other things.
Yeah.
Having your body at tip-top shape has to be one of the things you focus on.
Yeah.
Because your body's probably the best natural fighter of this particular thing. That's what your body does. Mm-hmm. That's what your immune system is there for, to fight these things. So I would imagine that the first thing that you should do is optimize your immune system to fight what it's good at fighting and what it knows how to fight.
You know what I find that a lot of people we've seen do when they have diagnosis like this is just go, forget it all. I'll eat whatever I want. I'm going to die anyways. And what an awful mindset to have. I mean, really, if you think about it, it's like we decided in this one, like when we saw it had spread to the bone, he was still getting treatments in Cancun. I went back to the hotel and pulled up Google. And when you find that cancer has metastasized from the prostate and entered the bone and lymph nodes, at the time we didn't know about lymph nodes. So I just knew it was possibly in the bone. And you immediately are given a death sentence. I mean, it gave in there, and I told him later, I was a mess. It was like 3 to 5 years at best he has to live. And what's I find so interesting is being in all these groups now, because I'm in these, wives of prostate cancer groups. It's the most depressing environment you've ever been in. Yeah. It's people that they're like, my husband's not even wanting to get up out of the couch anymore. Like he doesn't want to take care of himself. He's just eating crap all the time, and that's where I find, who are you listening to? Who are you talking to? Like I can't listen to Google on a diagnosis for my husband because my husband is unlike anyone else out there and Google hasn't met him. Obviously, he's a fighter, And so I think that's where we started. I'm like going, okay, I'm going to be verbal about what I'm walking through emotionally here and what we're navigating through with the environment. So we got back from Cancun and came back to the States to try to find some of those similar treatments that he was getting there. Mm-hmm. And you piecemeal it together and it's thousands of dollars to do like a hyperbaric chamber, to do 1 or 2 times a month. It's like $1,000 a month, or more. And then there's the red light therapy he was doing. And to try to find a place to do that, it's like, here's another $200 a month payment you're going to pay out of your pocket. None of this isn't covered by insurance because it's not FDA approved, right?
Because it works, right?
Yeah.
Oops.
Possibly.
Yeah. And then there's the herbs.
Off YouTube now.
If you literally saw the herb list he was taking that we were smuggling in from Mexico because it's not provided here. I know we talk about this all the time, that ivermectin, fenbendazole. It's like you're hearing about it all the time because it's not easily received here. It's really hard to find. Mm-hmm. We were literally drug muling it in from Mexico. We're like bringing in suitcases of it over.
It just seems to me like just you saying that. I didn't know that it was hard to find here, but just you saying that, what other explanation could there be other than it's cheap and it works? What other explanation is there that's why doctors don't want to prescribe it, or that's why it's so difficult in our system for you to get your hands on it?
Yeah,
is there's no money to be made in it?
Yeah.
Tell me, am I wrong? Tell me another reason why that might be.
You can go get it for your horse right down the street. And actually, we were taking the horse version. Yeah, I mean, honestly, if you can't get it in pill form for a human.
Well, yeah, the doctors won't. There was a time in 2020 during a certain event that people were like, "Hey, man, take this." Doctors wouldn't prescribe. Nope, I won't prescribe that to you. Right. You can. You just won't. Yep, can, and I won't.
Right, and this podcast would be removed from any social media anywhere.
And we've had that happen. We've talked about it a couple times.
That's why I don't actually say the name.
Oh, sorry.
But
you can bleep it out
now, right? Yeah. Fast forward 5 years from the initial start, and the information out in the New England Journal of Medicine. It's a fairly reputable publication, saying that, oh man, this is the best thing you could ever take for not only that, like it's saying for certain bacteria and viral infections, but literally they're saying it kills certain forms of cancer. Just like, why is that not in any of the protocols? Why is that not in any? Well, because it costs $2 a pill and there's no patent on it anymore, and certain companies can't make money on it.
Yeah.
Simple explanation. I mean, you can say whatever you want, but the doctor that invented it won a Nobel Peace Prize. They don't just they gave one to Obama, so I guess they do just give them out. But like, this was pretty amazing, cutting edge stuff. And what are they giving all of the refugees that are coming over from Afghanistan before they set foot in the U.S.? Take this ivermectin. Mm-hmm. Get all that crap out of your system before you come here.
Yeah.
So it's good enough for them. But our own people, like we can't, it's 100% because they can't make money on it. 100%. There's no other explanation for it.
It's a racket.
Well, it's a tough one.
It feels like though, I mean, if you can take it, and Mike, you're such a positive person. It's unbelievable how positive you are.
It is.
But if you can take something from this, it's like now there's a real purpose. I feel it in you.
Oh yeah.
And so I don't know. I mean, how it seems to drive you a lot.
It does. It really does drive me. Well, he is so positive. I mean, he's this way all the time, y'all. Like this is not. I've actually had to tell him, like, you handle your emotions so different than me. I need to be able to fight. Like I need to be able to get it out because if you ever done the Enneagram, I'm an 8, and an 8 is a driver, and I like to fight. But I also know
Mike's over there smiling. That's
he loves that about me, though.
Oh, I love it. It's the best thing ever. Unless when we're fighting.
unless it's directed to you.
Then
Which we do
what am
that
I,
too.
the unmovable object, and you're the
force.
the unstoppable force.
Yeah, that's kind of what we are, which is great.
Yeah.
What's been so interesting about this whole thing is we decided our boys were going to navigate this with us. We have 3 boys, 22, 20, and about to be 18. And we're not going to hide from them anything that we're walking through. And we're also not going to hide from anybody else what we're walking through too. And I'm going to live it out. And every time we think we're done, because we do believe, we're Christians, we believe that there's a God in heaven that could literally heal him right now. And that will be cancer free. But we also know we're walking through this for a reason, and we're going to walk it out as we're walking through it, you know? And every time we're getting ready to okay, we're cancer free, like hope is here, we get literally mailed down with something else. And what went from just spreading to bones and lymph nodes, like 6 places, which we found out Mother's Day weekend last year, that it had spread everywhere, to now it's on his rib cages and all over his back and his neck. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you're seeing that he's having a hard time turning his head right now. I mean,
this is about as far as I can go. It hurts.
He's in a lot of pain.
Feels like whiplash right now.
Yeah.
Like I pulled some muscles doing too many pull-ups or something.
So the treatments
But it's a constant thing.
he has had a radiation so far, and what's called androgen deprivation therapy, which if you're not familiar with that, it's what men take to become women.
Yeah, I was so excited to try that. Just wanted to be in.
There's
the in crowd. Well, as of November, and then all changed. It's not
What
cool
sports
anymore.
you taking up?
I know. I know. I'm about to crush it, man. Next podcast, gold medal winner,
Michael.
long hair,
Yeah. That's Michelle.
You don't even have
Michael, Michelle, what do we call it?
Big Mike.
That's right.
That's a whole other podcast.
Okay.
I had to throw that out there.
So needless to say, he did that. And that was probably the radiation and the androgen deprivation therapy was last resort. We didn't want to do it.
Oh, for sure.
But that was the next step in this process. And so what we keep hearing is he has to fail radiation. He has to fail chemotherapy. He has to be on androgen deprivation treatments for the rest of his life. Like this is what the protocol is in order to get the actual treatment that will eradicate his cancer. So it's called Pluvicto. It's now actually more popular. You're hearing more about it now, but it's an isotope that attaches itself. The cancer thinks it's a cancer cell, so it ingests it, and then it blows up the cancer from the inside out. He's literally radioactive for 48 hours after doing it because it's super, super crazy cool. But this is not new. It's actually been on the market for a long time. But the only way you can get access to it is failing everything that doesn't work first. And our doctor, we just met with him yesterday, and he's like, chemotherapy does not help in this type of prostate cancer. What it does for a man that is in the level and the stages that Mike's at is literally disintegrate your body. Yeah. It pretty much kills you slowly. Yeah. And then your body's so weakened by the time you actually get the opportunity to have the treatment that's life-saving. So it costs in the States, just FYI, without insurance, to get this treatment, $45,000 one shot. and you need 6 shots in order to have the treatment.
That's a lot of nice cars.
That's over $220,000. I mean, it's a lot of money. In Australia, it's about $20,000 a shot. And in Canada right now, it's about $20,000 a shot. So we are.
But you could, even if you wanted to pay the 45, you couldn't get it.
You cannot pay cash for it right now.
I'm not a candidate.
He's not a candidate.
According to the tiered structure.
Yeah.
What are, I mean, okay. So this is a lot to take in.
Yeah.
What do you think's behind that? Is it sinister? Is it part of the system? Why can't people just get this drug? Even for $45,000 seems way blown out of proportion, but why can't they get this drug in America?
Our doctor is an amazing oncologist that we met here. So he's kind of the flip side of the story. Here he is, traditional oncologist. He's been practicing a long time.
He used to run the Mayo Clinic.
He used to work at Mayo, ran departments at Mayo, and actually helped develop what's called brachytherapy. And that is where they implant these small radioactive seeds inside the prostate. And that was one of the therapies my urologist said he hates. Oh, it's horrible. It doesn't work very well, did it? Well, I don't know. It
does work really well. And
we meet the guy that helped develop it, and he said that works very well. That's for encapsulated prostate cancer that hasn't escaped. So I'm not a candidate for that. There's no point because it's already. But he would have recommended that. He said it works very well. And I'm listening to this doctor, and how did we meet this guy? Well, that's a whole story in and of itself, just how God sets things up. He's an amazing man. And he said, the reason that you cannot get this treatment right now is because of money, bottom line. And
whose money? Your money?
It is
because they can't make money, insurance money, whose money?
Insurance.
Well, because you're going to be cured. At that point, you'll be in remission.
There's that.
They've got nothing to sell you for the rest of your...
Yeah.
For the rest of your life.
The treatment does work very, very well. He's seen it work very well in a lot of folks. So it knocks out the cancer. And there's also all these doctors out there that have, and he included himself. He said, I've got this thing called tomotherapy. So tomotherapy is localized radiation. So it's much less radiation. Okay, so in other words, a lot of radiation treatment is shotgun. This is a little bit more precision. It might be more like a sniper rifle or something, so you're not getting as much radiation around the body. He's going to target it in these different spots. And that's actually the therapy he recommended that I do along with the ADT. It's called androgen deprivation therapy, which is chemical castration. It just shuts off testosterone. And I did not want to do it. And I got a lot of advice from several doctors and friends and different people. And they said, yeah, it's no fun, but here's what it does. It tweaks your system and the cancer just freezes. It doesn't kill cancer. It just stops it from growing while you're taking it. Makes you feel like a couch potato, super weak, because no testosterone.
Yes.
I mean, that's messing with your hormones. Mm-hmm. And that's what I told the doctor. I said, man, I don't know if I want to tweak my whole system. And he said, I understand.
Yeah.
So we don't have to do it. He was great. But here's what it will do. It'll pause it. So you're hitting pause on the cancer growth while we're, attacking it with this radiation. And that usually works very well. So after all the advice, and that's probably another word of advice I'd give everybody is, okay, you got to listen to your gut, listen to those around you. You're going to get a ton of advice, especially if you go live on Facebook. You're going to hear, hey, there's this worm if you eat from, the Andes.
We actually had someone tell us to get a divorce.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. She was super cute too. She was like, hey,
it was actually pretty funny.
If you guys get a divorce, he can actually get all of this stuff covered for free. Like that she had.
So there's a logical reason, not just like
it was like a logical fake divorce, like we're divorced on paper.
I'm like, yeah, thank you. For that.
I would love to pick her brain and find out the reason. What the?
She was like, "There's 2 ways to skin a cat." Is what she told me. I'm like, oh my goodness.
When you do that, just know you're going to get all sorts of direction. I mean, from a beautiful, loving place.
Yeah.
They just want to see you better.
Let me real quick interject here too. I want to say, if you are listening to someone's story on Facebook or in person, and someone said that their family member has been diagnosed with something, or they've recently lost a loved one, probably don't tell them that your dad died of prostate cancer or that your husband or brother has passed away from the same disease.
Yeah.
Like there's been so many times. I mean, I've had people literally come up to me and be like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm okay." And at the moment I am okay. Like I'm not just sitting around depressed all the time.
I was okay till you just asked me that.
And then they're like crying for me, which it's sweet. I understand that they're having to deal with their own emotions. It's awesome. But to then go and tell me that your friends have died or your family members have died or whatever, that's not hope giving.
Yes.
It's not life giving.
Yes.
You know, so just going, maybe sometimes if you don't know what to say, don't say anything and just say, "I love you and I'm here for you." That's the most important thing to hear, you know?
Yeah.
So for the listeners that are curious about, timestamps and all the things, I'll back up. June 2023 diagnosed. August 2023 went to Hope for Cancer for 3 weeks. Yeah, it was
3 weeks.
3 weeks straight, 6 days a week, sometimes 8 hours a day of treatments, which some of the treatments are laying down in a hyperbaric chamber and just watching videos or reading a book. Really nice and gentle treatments. And then we're going to the beach. And then I do home protocols. So I had a small portable ultrasound machine. There was local ultrasound that works with this herb and it kind of disrupts the cancer. It'd be like real low radiation without the effects of radiation. It just kind of disrupts the cancer. And I did all those things 6 months, went back to Tijuana in December of 23. That's where they saw the higher elevation in the PSA marker. Mm-hmm. Come to find out I had a prostate infection, which could have happened again from the biopsy. They're not sure. Really rare to get prostate infections. Like a lot of people get sinus infections, ear infections, things like that. This one's very rare. I had one and they said, "Oh, it could be a false positive type reading." Take some antibiotics, knocked it out, but the PSA was still rising. That's where I did some more scans in San Diego of January, February 24th.
We'll get this too. The scans in Scottsdale, it's called a PET PSMA scan. In Scottsdale, it was $12,000, $15,000 for one scan. We drove to San Diego, $6,000. So all out of pocket, we didn't know if we're covered by insurance. So it's like everything that we've been doing has been a battle just to get the things he needs.
Luckily, we don't have insurance. We have medical sharing.
Well, same, similar.
Yeah. And I mean, they're so adamant there. We are not insurance, but they did reimburse us for some of those.
Yeah.
So,
but it's a fight.
But it was a
tons
lot of work.
And
we're over here becoming this. That's the whole other side. I just was telling Summer the other day is something I forget about is the blood tests and the doctor's appointments and going to get scans done and then traveling and all these things that have become our new normal, which that's not normal to be spending so much time and money doing all these things, but you're going to do what you need to do to get better and to get well. And I thought through, oh my goodness, I wonder how much time we've spent sitting in waiting rooms and how many pieces of paper have I filled out over and over.
The same thing.
Here's my birthday. It's like I'm back in school. But it's amazing what we're going to do to get better and to get well. And I think, again, I'm so glad we've gone the route we've gone. And there's a side of trusting experts, trusting the science that's been laid out and trusting the doctor you're connected to. There's the other side of questioning all those things. And it's okay to question. Mm-hmm. Please question it all. Even if you love your doctor, please get at least a second opinion, maybe third.
Yeah.
And have other people view this from different angles. And that's how we found these other treatments, these other places that led us on this, this twisty path to this oncologist here in Scottsdale, who's not a typical oncologist. He's kind of moved away from the system. He's got a small practice now. And he helps folks in China, in Peru, and Mexico that simply don't have access. So he's got our kind of heart. Oh, I love you, man. There's all those pictures of him traveling the world helping people. That's so cool. And back to the question of the money, he says it very plain. Well, it's money because they spend all this money, like I have, on this machine right here. But the difference is if this treatment is going to help better than my machine, I'd rather just let's go with the treatment over here.
Well, and he did work at the Mayo Clinic building the prostate cancer treatment facility there. And this treatment this Pluvicto treatment was in Mayo at the time. And it was working incredibly well, a lot better than radiation, a lot better than chemotherapy. And all of a sudden, it got bought out and got tabled.
Oh, okay.
Back in the 90s,
Back
right?
in the 90s.
Yeah.
Got bought out.
It got bought out and tabled. It literally has been shelved.
By the Shell Corporation, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's
Do we even know who bought it?
We
Do we
don't
know?
know.
he could probably.
You could probably tell us.
Yeah. It's so wild. So
Does their name start with a P?
Well, but they still
Is it in China?
this company still makes. It's a drug, right? It's a or is it a shot?
It's called an isotope.
An isotope.
So it's different than, it is a shot he's administered, and it adheres to, so the PSMA PET scan that is attracted to the prostate cancer, it attaches itself to it, and then gets eaten by the cancer cell, and then pretty much disintegrates it from the inside out. So that's what's really cool about it, is it's built in what kind of factories?
nuclear power
Nuclear
plants.
power plants is where it's like
crazy.
created.
Is this prostate cancer specific, or is this all like it has to be like a tumor or something? Or is
As far as I know, it's prostate.
So,
Yeah,
and
I
that's
think it's
another
specific
question.
to it.
When let's say your prostate cancer spreads, it's still prostate cancer, and the prostate cancer is different from a different type of cancer. So you have prostate cancer outside of your prostate. So if you have a specific drug for prostate cancer, it will fight in this particular cancer. Is that how that works?
Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, just last week we were up in Vancouver, Canada, getting scans done. And one of those was to rule out if the cancer had morphed and evolved into something else where it wouldn't be treatable. And fortunately, everything's looking good.
Okay.
He's like, we're booked, we're ready to go in a couple of weeks for the first treatment. And really all it is, it's saline solution with the isotope. And it's got
So you're actually going to get this treatment.
Yeah.
now.
So let's talk about that real quick.
Yeah.
Let's
Nice.
because this is the big revelation recently. You guys have been battling, and finally you guys have been found out recently that you guys can get this.
Yeah.
Tell us about how you got there.
That came through our oncologist. So
It was taking a long time though. It was like he just was getting the ringer. So I just said, give me phone numbers, give us names. We're calling. I'm not waiting anymore.
he was working on our behalf. He said, okay, I know these guys in Australia. I know
And
this
they
guy
are
in Canada.
incredibly busy, him and his office. Like he literally is so trusted. People fly down from Canada to get treatment from him. So
Our doctor here in Scottsdale, our oncologist.
So he's incredibly busy man. And he was calling on our behalf to Australia, and he was calling on our behalf to Canada. And like what was cool, we're in the office and he's making these phone calls like in front of us, which was just neat because he's fighting so hard for us. And we were like, listen, we have the income to do it right now. So we don't want to wait anymore. And his numbers just kept getting higher and higher. And
Wait,
higher.
his numbers? Oh, your numbers. Okay, I thought he was raising the price.
Oh, no.
Wait,
your markers.
His markers,
okay.
kept getting higher and higher, and we knew that meant more spread. And also, one thing about metastatic prostate cancer is when you are younger, you are at a higher risk of it being more intense. So we were like, okay, we need to do this. Well, we called the place in Australia, and what was really cool about Australia is we got to meet with the doctor who administered the very first isotope, because he went to Germany and he helped create the whole thing. So he sat with us on a call. We paid for the call. So it wasn't like we just got this free. It was like a $350 investment, but we got to learn all about what this has done and what it can do. And he was like, man, you would be perfect for it, but they're having a hard time getting the isotope. So what was available to them now isn't as available. So he was like, well, there's a third generation type you could have. And I'm like, well, I don't want third generation.
Yeah,
I want the one that works, like the one that's known to work.
Give us a good one.
So then we started calling Canada, and it is available there. So that's why we were there last week. And what was so interesting is we get the call that he's been approved now. Like his cancer is actually the kind that will accept this. And he could, start right away. But they're showing us his scans. And this is when we learned that it has spread everywhere. And so as they're going over these scans, I'm just weeping. He's excited. They're excited. And I'm sitting here in just like tears, And
She's like, I haven't even been making them Brussels sprouts. What's going on here?
And that's the, you hadn't had your Brussels sprouts. That's
right.
why.
It was just such all of this whole experience has been a battle.
Yeah.
I feel like on the Mother's Day trip, when we found out it had spread to his bone, the Sunday before, they talked about David and Goliath. And it wasn't Goliath that David really had to fight. It was his family. It was the things that you think are for you, the people that should be for you. And that's what I think happens a lot of times with this medical stuff, is you think that all of these doctors are for you, that insurance is for you, that the nation is for you, and yet here you are battling the very people that should be fighting right along with you. And I think that this has got to be known. Like, we have got to come to a place where we don't see them now as for us, but we see them as sometimes the enemy.
Yeah.
That we have got to be educated enough. Mike and I have spent countless of hours reading books, educating ourselves, meeting with doctors, finding what we need to do. And people keep going, well, are you guys going to do a GoFundMe or whatever? We're not even at that place. We're just want to get it done.
Yeah.
We're fighting for his life right now. And it is a timeline, as much as I don't want to acknowledge. But we can't sit back and put our head in the sand and pretend it's not happening either. We have got to move forward. And if we're one of them, if we're just one of the millions probably of people, they said that 1 out of 6 men are going to deal with prostate cancer. 1 out of 6.
Global average.
That's
the
crazy sauce.
Yes.
And that people are just succumbing to, that they can no longer have sex with their wives because they have had a prostatectomy, whatever you say that word. I can't say it right. But it's causing their relationships to be strained. I'm listening to these wives that no longer have relationships with their husbands anymore because they're having to do something that's literally attacking him as a man, pulling his testosterone down and causing him not to even have a will to fight anymore. Like, that's not okay. Yeah. Well, this shouldn't have to be the battle. The battle should be, there's a cure, if there's something that can take care of it, we should have access to it. Right. And that's where I'm adamant.
So is it a matter of do you even know exactly why we can't get it? Is it a matter of production? Is it a matter of regulation in the United States?
No. It's a matter of him not checking all the boxes.
But I don't. Maybe you guys don't know. But why would someone have to check the boxes if this could cure it from the beginning?
That's what our oncologist asked,
and nobody has the answer to that. There's somewhere buried in some paperwork at some insurance company or in the government.
Yep.
The
FDA has determined, and this is the wording they use. The FDA has determined that you have got to do radiation, androgen deprivation therapy, and chemotherapy, and fail multiple rounds of it before you can get this treatment.
And this is what I wanted to get at. Who is really behind this? Is it the government? Is it insurance? Is it manufacturers? And it sounds like if the FDA is regulating this, the FDA is the problem. It's the government.
Yeah.
The same dipshits that tell us that cornflakes should be like the base of the food pyramid.
Right.
Like, these guys are telling us that, hey, man, you basically have to die before we're willing to give you this treatment.
Be on your deathbed.
It's a last line of defense,
What did so if I'm whoever makes this isotope, if I'm that company, I'd want to sell this to as many people as I could, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you believe that, let's say the FDA didn't have that regulation, do you believe that with all that you know, that drug would be available to you?
Yeah.
My doctor is licensed
to administer
without that rule and regulation, he would administer it to you.
Oh,
he would have done it before radiation. He would have done it before androgen deprivation.
So it's not a production issue.
Guess how much it costs? Really costs.
Probably like 12 cents.
Probably not much.
Like $1 or something.
$800 a shot.
It was $800 in Australia
was what
trials.
it was for trials. Only $800 a shot, and now it has gone up to $45,000 a shot.
Scarcity. The government has created that scarcity.
Yes.
Yeah. So the doctor in Canada, another amazing oncologist who's friends with our oncologist, he said it is a monopoly right now. So there's one company, I believe that's the one based in Germany. It's confusing because it goes from Germany to Italy.
From Canada to Germany.
They get the isotopes and they get whatever.
From the radiation
I mean,
plant.
my mind, I go to like green
Nuclear
sludge.
Yeah, they go to Chernobyl. They
go to
pull some
Chernobyl.
stuff out of it.
You know, interesting. The war has a lot to do with the lack of supply for a certain isotope as well. Interesting. We heard that from Australia.
Wow.
So they're working on several different versions of this same type of treatment. I mean, that's the whole flip side. The whole flip side to this thing is when I stepped into this, I was all about health. I loved Hope for Cancer because their mindset is let's create your body into a beautiful garden where cancer can't thrive. Instead of you fighting cancer, you have to realize you're fighting yourself.
Yes.
Cancer is you. It's a morphed version of yourself when you get down to the science. So what we're going to do is create this garden where it just can't live and can't thrive. And it actually did work for a while. But it gets to the place in some folks like me where it does spread. And it's just, boy, we need some other help. And now we have this procedure that...
It sounds potentially like, we don't know again, but it just sounds to me like hearing your story. There was a spread during the biopsy. If that wouldn't have happened and you would have gone to Mexico, things may look very different.
Yeah.
And that approach, I mean, it feels good, right? Like I agree. I think we all could agree probably that you don't want to fight against yourself. And, some of these very poisonous cancer treatments, you're not only maybe killing the cancer or killing some of it, you're killing yourself.
Yeah.
And your body needs to stay as healthy as possible to fight these things. And so it's this counterproductive push and pull that we have here.
It's interesting. And even this procedure is radiation. It's a very small amount compared to even the localized radiation I got. I asked about side effects and he said, there's kind of not really any. What will happen with some folks is, like right now I have what's called bone pain. That's why my neck hurts and it seems to move around. It's interesting. Like the course of a week at a time, it seems to be somewhere else. But this side was worse. Now it's not that bad. Now it's over here. Apparently that's pretty normal when it comes to bone, cancer. So he said, what might happen is it could flare up a little bit because it's attacking so much. So you might actually be in a little more pain for a day or so, but most people don't even experience that. And if they do, it subsides substantially. That's about the worst it's going to get, even though it is radiation in my body, which doesn't sound great. But hey, if it's going to attack these specific cells, I'm all for it. So I think I've had that's where being open-minded has helped me. And I think it's built a bridge inside of me when it comes to traditional, old school, even surgeries and therapies. There's, again, so many good nurses and doctors and practitioners in our system.
That is what's been so interesting is how many nurses and doctors have reached out to us and said how broken the system is. And, I feel like it's made us so passionate about our health coaching business because if we could go back in time and be more educated on, you keep talking, Steve, about the food pyramid. If we could talk to kids about anti-inflammatory foods and what they're digesting. I mean, the fact that our children are being fed every day in school, food that rats would not even eat, white bread that rat would literally turn its nose up at and walk away. But yet we're feeding them that because it's cheap and easy. And yet that's when their bodies are forming the cells that create life and death. And I mean, this is where we could go on in this tangent forever, but I feel like until we do get someone that fights on our behalf, until this government system sees the people, hears the people. That's why I was like, Mike, I got to go live and I need to go live now because we got to fight this. Because at moments I feel weak emotionally. In other moments, I feel like I can take on this whole government because it's time that someone speaks up. And also it's time that women stop just expecting, their husbands to fight this all on their own, like physically and all the things. Whatever we can take on too. We're there to be their counterpart. And I told him, I'm like, there's things that he's done in the past for us, like finances and things like that I'm like, okay, babe, teach me. We show me the numbers. Like, let's do this together. Cause it shouldn't have to be his role, my role. It's our role. And together we're going to fight. So that's why we keep going. Okay. We're very passionate about what we're doing.
It's a big system to try to fight against. It's a big, deep system that has been entrenched, and there are many, many people who suck like parasites off that system who do not want to see it changed.
Yeah.
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 So it's a big battle, but the bigger the battle, the bigger the purpose, I think sometimes. And, the more we can do this type of stuff, the better. I mean, it's just the little bits here and there, just to pluck away.
Yeah.
Now, you guys are headed to Canada
Mm-hmm.
in a couple weeks.
Yep.
Yep.
What do you expect to find when you get there? What do you expect to see?
I expect there to be major change in the amount of pain I'm going through right now, because I don't like taking aspirin, for instance, and I do need ibuprofen right now, and even, I forget the name, tramadol or something. It's a little bit stronger. It's a weaker medication when it comes to pain in that whole world, but it's not over the counter.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, man, I don't like that, because I know those things aren't easy on your liver and kidneys. And at the same time, I need to sleep, So I'm expecting that it will really infiltrate the cancer
Yeah.
in the first round. And I'll continue on.
There's 6, if I remember.
Six rounds.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to spend 30 minutes that's
how
the
long the
whole
treatment
procedure.
is.
I'm going to walk in, get it's like an IV. They put a little port, saline solution, and they have to activate. It's crazy. The science behind it's amazing to me. And I think once they make the isotope, it's all purified and good to go. You have 72 hours to get it to Canada from Italy, I believe. And then once I'm there, I think it's a 30-minute window once they mix it together like a glow stick or
We
something.
can't even sleep in the same bed
Yeah.
for 2 days.
Yeah, because
You're like turn into some superhero.
He's going to be
know.
radioactive. Yeah.
Yeah.
He'll set off alarms at the airport. We have to have a letter
Possibly,
saying that
yeah.
he is not carrying a bomb.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so they give me a special letter.
That's pretty cool.
So it's kind of cool. It's like an experiment in some ways, but I'll be in there 30 minutes and hardly any side effects. So we're going to go explore Vancouver and have fun.
Yeah, that's cool.
And they did just say a guy who had the same kind of cancer spread of disease just rang the bell that he's in full remission.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So that's what we're like, okay, I've never heard that story. I've never heard about the man who did this and is now in remission. So unless we don't ask these questions and seek to gain knowledge, we're just going to do what the doctors tell us to do and end up miserable or fight and be cancer free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's just you mentioned people online who just roll over and die, but it's so refreshing to see people who can find any sliver of hope and just turn that into so much positivity. That's all I think a lot of people need. Just give me some hope somewhere and let us go figure it out. And I feel like that's what you guys are doing.
There is hope. And
There is.
that's so true, Ryan. I mean, there's really hope out there. And I feel like where people perish is when they don't have vision.
Yeah.
When they don't have hope. And I feel like the more you listen to other people, we have been surrounded by people that are feeding life into us. So what is cool about this whole thing, we go to Cancun, we experience all those treatments, and we come back and we tell our tribe, our community about this experience. And one of our closest friends and our mentors in our business decides to build it here. Literally, they just opened up a gym. It's called the High Fit Club here in Scottsdale. And they got the list of, I can't ever share the story without getting emotional. They got the list of treatments that he did in Cancun, and they put it in their healing center at the Hive. So now he goes to one place to get all of these treatments, and they're covering it all. They're not charging us at all for it. And of course, they probably would not want me to tell anybody. But they literally built this healing center for him, because they're like, if you're one that needs it, we all need it. And even Doug was saying, he's having to piecemeal his treatments and getting hyperbaric and, red light therapies and cold plunge and sauna and all the things. And he's like, IVs and whatever you need. He's had to piecemeal it too. But then he watched one of his best friends, the astronomical amounts of money it costs to do those kind of treatments here in the United States is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so we're like, we couldn't even afford to keep it up,
And clearly that's an amazing thing that he's done.
Yeah.
But it's also, and I don't mean to smart. It seems like it would be a smart business idea because this is something that we're not doing here in the United States, and people are seeking and needing desperately something to help them be healthy.
Yeah.
So true.
Just like Doug said, if you need it, we all need it.
Yeah.
You know, and
Exactly.
let's not
Wait until
it's too late.
Right.
So, very interesting, very very cool. So, okay, you have 6 treatments.
Mm-hmm.
Are you staying in Canada for all of them? Do you have to keep going back and forth? What does that look like?
We'll go back and forth because of the 6-week time
It's a
frame.
6-week time frame between each. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we'll just fly up, get her done. Need to wait at least 48 hours for it to dissipate a little so that I can go through scanners and things
Yeah.
and fly home. And, we'll just go back in 6 weeks. And what will happen on the second round is more scans. So they have the baseline scans we just did last week. Mm-hmm. One treatment, do another treatment and scans, I believe, or scans and treatment the second time, and see what's happened after one treatment. Or maybe they're gonna wait a little. That part is unclear, but they're gonna do a scan after that second treatment sometime. Maybe I'll fly up again for that and compare and see where we're at. Because as of now, if we had visual, you could see it has actually decreased in my pelvic area because of the tomotherapy, the localized radiation. The pain was pretty bad there, especially if I was in the gym doing squats or anything, like really pushing it, it would just inflame horribly. And I thought I was like, I killed the workout like that. Man, I must have really done a good job because I can't move like this whole week. I need more aminos, and that's really subsided. But what it has done is spread to some vertebrae and some rib and
More lymph nodes.
a few more lymph nodes and things. And what gives me solace is the doctor there is looking at it and cracking jokes about drinking
He's
beer.
celebrating.
He's celebrating and she's crying. And I'm excited because, that's why I hurt. So I like to know,
Yeah.
if you've got pain, well, why?
Yeah.
Let's figure out what's
Another
up
thing
here.
that's come out of this is I feel like it's empowered me to help people learn how to work through their emotions.
Mm-hmm.
I've been writing a book. It's called The Caregiver's Guide to Sanity. Because I feel like in this process, I was trying to hold all my feelings. I was trying to hold all the emotion from him to protect him.
Yes.
And trying to deal with a lot of things. And in this process, we're very honest about, so we, get diagnosed. And then about 3 months later, our son is suicidal. And so we're walking through that and he starts cutting and things. And we're like, whoa, what is happening here? And then 3 months after that, my dad gets diagnosed with Parkinson's disease from his military service. And then 3 months after that, we find out it's spread throughout his body. So it was just like bam, 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 so many things. But what I know is this process of dealing with your emotions, walking through them, and also knowing that there's a purpose behind pain. And if you don't lean into it, then it will eat you up. It will destroy you. And I dealt with moments of depression. And I say moments because thank goodness I've learned how to walk in gratitude. That has saved my life. And just living in that has helped me see that though it might be hard in the moment, it's not end all be all. And so, there's been so much beauty in this painful process that I can't help but see that it's bigger than us, and I feel like that everyone that goes through hardship, even our son, he's doing incredible now. He has put on like over 50 pounds of muscle. He's taken all of his feeling and put it into the gym. And now he's like passionate about health and wellness, which is just so cool. Coming from health coaches, we're like, wow, he works at the High Fit Club.
Yeah.
But 2 of our boys work at the place that our best friends created for Mike's treatments. It's just so cool how God works that way. But that's where I feel like why we're here, and that's why we keep sharing, is because we're like, okay, so many people are walking through this in silence. So many couples are walking through this, and it's destroying them instead of drawing them closer together so that they can fight together. They're actually turning inward and fighting each other. And it's also, causing them not to stand up for themselves. So if we can empower some people to fight and to grow, that's what we're all about.
Yeah, and inspire them too. You could just feel the passion, oozing from you. And I think people will see that when they see this, and maybe it'll change their mind or opinion or or how they go about whatever they're battling.
I think the amazing thing too is, you know, just looking at you guys, like you've got this process going on and you're super positive, right? You don't come in here and strike me as a guy, this guy's got cancer. Right. If you walked up and I met you, I would never think this guy's going through this. Right. So you have this positivity and this energy despite all the stuff you're going through, and you're fighting everything. Like, I think you guys probably, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys probably play off of that, right? There's times where you're just like, and he's over here being Mr. Positive.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, if you say one positive thing to me right now.
And then there's probably times where you're in your mind going, God, it's more treatment and the pain and she's over here like, hey, suck it up, man. Let's go. Let's fight. Let's, you know, like, that's really cool for your relationship too, to just that you both can, you know, serve a purpose and feed off of each other, you know?
Well, and we almost didn't make it through. We've been married for 25 years. And there's been, I think 2 or 3 times I've packed my bags saying I'm out, you know? And what I love is that, one, we didn't give up on each other. 2,
First time was like, what, 8 months in?
yeah,
Wait, we just got here.
That was so funny.
Wait, this has been awesome.
I feel like you'd turn that into a positive. I don't know why.
Is that true?
Turn it into
That's
something.
exactly
Well, I
it.
see a bag like, hey, where are we going? I'll go get my bag.
Yeah.
You're leaving me too. I'm leaving with you. I'm tired of all
Sounds
this.
fun.
Well, and what honestly I love about what we've navigated as a couple is that in this 25 years, we're actually more in love. We like each other way more. We don't want to be apart. So like I'm like, okay, you can go to Canada and I'll stay home. And then
Well, not this time. You come this
I'll
time
come
too.
this time,
Okay.
you know, and
So
then
she's
I
coming
go and
She'll probably come the next one too.
it's not easy for him though. There's things he can't physically do right now. And so it's also good to be there, but it's just been a beautiful process in that, how it's brought us closer together.
Yeah.
You know, brought our whole family, man, our boys, such incredible men. Like to watch what we've navigated with them and to watch them rise up, you know, pray over my husband and pray over, we just did a family fast. Like that's, to me, that my son called it. He's like, hey mom, I want us to fast for 3 days. I'm like, who is this? You know? So it's just been beautiful watching all of this hard drive us together and drive us to God too. I can't imagine doing this without.
You know, that leads right back to the initial diagnosis. The day I got that diagnosis, hey, it's cancer. Yay. Good news and bad news. It's all the same, whatever. You know, thanks, doctor. Appreciate it. When I was driving back, I thought through, oh, okay, this is why I was listening to that podcast or this synopsis of Exodus. And okay, it's all making sense now. Now I didn't want to call her to tell her over the phone, but I needed to tell her immediately. So I called, hey, here's what's happening. And the next morning I was prayer time. I just do that every morning. And I was adamant. I was praying to God, you know, you are a healer. So I'm telling him who he is and what he's going to do. You're going to heal me. It's going to be an amazing testimony. Hey, this is a win-win. You're going to look good. I'm going to look good. This is hey. And I felt like God was like, stop, be grateful for the diagnosis. And then I argued back, no, I'm not going to accept the diagnosis. This is a trick, right? Because if I accept it, then I'm saying, oh, I have cancer. When I don't have it. It's clean. Be grateful for the diagnosis. And then I felt like God said, get on your knees and put your hands up like old school and just thank me for it. All right. You know, rolled my eyes kind of, which isn't usually how I communicate with God. It was just a really intense moment. So I knelt down. Well, I guess I'm grateful for and right in the middle of me saying that word, I had almost a vision. You know how you have dreams that you can remember really well, or like those lucid dreams, or you have really strong daydreams? It was kind of both. It was an extremely strong daydream where I'm seeing some of our future. And it was right in alignment with things that we've been wanting to do, like buy a piece of property and build this land and do some things. So we already have had these dreams for years, but it was like that was HD. Now it's 8K. You know, it was so crisp and clear. And I was actually seeing the property. Why am I seeing? I was just praying about cancer. Why am I seeing things that are going to happen in the future? What is this all about? And during this whole process, that's what it's drawn me to is first of all, get into gratitude. Really, before that, let's just talk to God here. Let me understand you a little more. Why am I going through this? Because this is weird.
Yeah.
What good can come out of this? From this point all the way back to the first diagnosis, I see amazing things that have come out of it. And there's pain. Like right now, the neck pain is frustrating. I'm like, I want to look over this way, but I can't. I want to go kill it in the gym, but if I do, oh man, it really inflames my body. And that was part of my identity and my go-to to feel better and to create longevity in my life and all these things. I feel like a lot of my identity has been stripped away, and I'm realizing, oh, my identity comes from Christ, bottom line. That's all. So, okay. So how do we do that? And then what's this positive attitude thing? Where does that come from? Is that me shielding? Because there can be a lot of unhealthy positive talk that we can do.
Yes.
Where our subconscious knows you're lying. Like, hey man, just own the pain that you're going through. So in the past, I wouldn't have talked about the pain. I would have just held it in. Now I'm like, yeah, it hurts. So I'm taking ibuprofen and this tramadol stuff. I don't really like taking it, but boy, it helps me sleep. And this is just for a time. And it's helped me realize part of the gifting with the positive stuff is just part of what I've been given. So it's not about everyone becoming super positive. That's actually a gift that I have. And I'm learning to hone that gift. And how can I help people see the world from a different lens on a camera, for instance? Like a guy that I follow who's an amazing National Geographic photographer, he talks about changing your lens. His name's DeWitt Jones, amazing guy. And he's talking about changing your lens on life, where he would actually change lenses and show you this amazing depth of field and this little sunflower. Here's what it looks like normally. Here's what it looks like. He's amazing. So that's part of a gift I have. So what it's done is challenged me to step into action with that gift even more.
Yeah.
Like, well, great, I have this thing. How am I going to help humanity? Oh, it's helping them see this angle over here. So if you have a bad diagnosis right now or bad news or something horrible that you're going through, whoever's listening, there is something good that's going to come out of it.
If you choose.
Exactly. If you choose it, and then from there, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be a battle.
Yes.
A lot of work.
Well, this is one of the primary questions that people ask when they are not believers. Why would God do bad things to good people? It's such a deep question, such a hard question to answer. But there's a feeling, I think, especially as Christians, sometimes we can't articulate it very well, but we know it's there. And you're a perfect example. From what I know, you've always been very close in your relationship with Christ. So you could easily say, why me? I've always been right there. I've always been with you. We've always been close to you. I've always sought your guidance. But at the same time, it's like, because you are strong enough, I've given you the strength, or we've built the strength to go through this. And I don't know the answer. I'm just kind of flushing this out right now. But I think about this a lot because I do kind of watch these types of things and listen to people who have these feelings and say these things about like why do good people, why does God hurt good people, whatever. And it's not God. And I think in a lot of it, you could easily say that there's all this preparation that we do. There's all this learning. That's this journey that we are here in life. And he probably gives a lot of some of the strongest people these hardest battles, because I think we're all here to learn from each other. We're all here to learn something. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. I mean, we from the Bible we know what a lot of that is, but still a little bit murky. Yeah. But I do get the sense that he gives a lot of very tough people these tough jobs because he knows. He knows
you
that
can
you
either
handle
fall
it.
victim to it,
Yes,
or you can rise up and become a victor because of it.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you choose, every one of us could be victim to something. We've all navigated hard things, but you can also choose to take those hard things, spin it on its head, and become the victor over it.
So last question, for the people listening to this and maybe going through something similar, what last bit of advice, a summary of advice might you give somebody?
Good question.
Well, what I would say is don't isolate. I feel like isolation is the enemy's playground, and the fact that in 2020, I guess, was like the perfect depiction of what isolation can do to a country, can do to a human, can do to a people group, and for some reason we've put shame behind illness or trauma or things we're walking through. Like I dealt with depression for years. No one knew about it. I was so scared to tell anybody. On social media, it was always my highlight reel of all the great things going on. And then when I started realizing, wow, when I'm honest and when I actually lean into what I'm navigating, not going up there and be like, oh my gosh, I'm depressed, and taking that depressed selfie, you know what I'm talking about? Like, I need attention selfie. It's more of, okay, this is how I'm navigating getting out of it, getting through it. And I would just say isolation doesn't serve anyone. It just doesn't. Building yourself a community. I mean, we have invested in relationships. The relationships didn't just happen to us. We were like, are you sick? We'll bring you soup. Do you need help? We'll watch your kids. What do you need? Like we've become the friend we want because we needed that tribe. And now our tribe is literally rallied around us. And that's why I think isolation kills, is because you think you're empowering yourself when really you're putting yourself farther into a hole. So that's what I would say.
Well, I'll just slide right on over with that whole thought process. The hard part for me, what I don't like to do is throw things on people.
Yes.
So that's why
I think that's a masculine trait. I think a lot of men like that too. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, you're right, because even as a kid, my buddies would call me on the old rotary phone back in the 70s and 80s. Hey, we're going to go play football or baseball. And I'm looking at my battle I have right here with my G.I. Joes against the Transformers laid out in my, playroom as a kid. Oh man, I can't make it. My mom won't let me. I just lie or something. Because I'd rather go be alone and be in my own little world. And I think that's a gift unto itself that some people have. But to her point about isolation, that's why I didn't want to go live about it. I think for about 10 seconds in my head, no, I don't really want to tell people about all this, because then that's putting a load on them. Let me carry this, because I know I can. I'll be fine.
Yes.
No. Like 10 seconds later, we need to let everyone know, because I need to get over myself. Is this ego? And part of it is, it's pride and ego when we're that way. Even though it feels pure and good as a man. No, I'll bear this. Now, there are times where we should. It is time for me to bear this. I've got this, and nobody else needs to deal with this, and let me hold it up because I can. But man, it has been so good for me. And I think number 2 of the thought process is flexibility, emotional flexibility. And what we talk a lot about in our coaching circles, where most disease comes from, and I'm just reading it in other books from Dr. Caroline Leaf and all of her brilliant neuroscience, coupling it together with scripture, shows that so much disease comes from our thoughts more than environment. Yeah. So you can be living in the most Chernobyl place on the planet and be super healthy because your thoughts are actually changing your endocrine system, and you're releasing toxins even quicker. And it's mind-blowing. So that's part of what I went through in Cancun was emotional therapy, which I thought, I'm pretty stable. I'm fine. Like I've always been this way. It wasn't what I thought. She went through family tree, and she wanted me to write down certain dates. Okay, so your family's from Poland on the mom's side. Okay, what year did they emigrate? Where did they come? Was it Ellis Island? What were the dates? What jobs did they have? So she got all nitty gritty and ran this algorithm, and she came up with certain dates in just a whole other podcast. So I've learned so much about being flexible in our emotions and our thoughts.
Yeah.
Again, I did not want to pursue anything traditional. I want to do it all naturopathic, anything that's going to build my body. And I got to do that in the beginning. And I think this is part of the reason that it has spread throughout my body, so that I could learn how to lean on our traditional system with radiation and in the shots and some of the chemically stuff. Hey, it's actually helping. Okay, there is something to what we've learned in that side of science, and there's something to what we've learned. And I do see Summer and I are like advocates or bridges between two worlds in many ways. So all of that to give advice to everyone listening, when you hear the bad news again, or the thing that's happening, do this. Take a deep breath when your kid does something stupid. You know?
Right.
You take a deep breath, have them take a deep breath. It changes your chemistry,
Sure.
your blood chemistry, and we're learning more about it. Let it out, and then challenge how you would like to respond. It's going to take a lot of practice to do this because it's all, why'd you drop that? I would ask her why she would drop.
Goodness. It was one of our biggest fights in our marriage was, why did you do that? I have a tendency, like I call him dropsies. Like I just will drop something and he'll be like, why did you do that? And I'm like, because I wanted to. I wanted to drop my favorite thing and break it all over the floor.
Right.
That was
Yeah. Why did I just ask you why you did that? That's interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So what's powerful about just that little, we call it stop, challenge, choose. It comes from our coaching world. You stop. Okay. Deep breath. Challenge yourself. How would I like to respond? You're probably going to need to think this through after you already yelled and said, why did you drop that? Well, deconstruct it. Well, okay. Why did I just act? That was a stupid question. Probably shouldn't have said that. Did it help? No. It just made us fight more. Okay. How do you want to respond next time? And we have the ways we would love to respond to a flat tire. And those are the kind of things that irk me more than the big things. Like, oh, I got cancer. I'm going to be fine. Flat tire. This is horrible. It's going to ruin my I can't take it anymore. That for me has been my specific battle, is allowing these little nitpicky foxes that spoil the vine daily things.
Yeah.
You know what? It's going to be fine. I'm doing what I can. How do I want to respond to this? And then it's just building habits and how to respond to these things. So when the bad news comes in, flip it around, and you got to practice it. And it's going to flip itself back over. Oh, this is horrible. This bad diagnosis. But wait.
Yeah.
And now I have this track record. I would have never met Dr. Tony in Cancun and all these cool people from Australia out there and all these new friends.
We wouldn't have been on this podcast.
See? So
back to your last question about, okay, what do we expect in Canada? Man, I expect it to knock it out, and now we can move forward. And that's my mentality.
Yeah.
And to bring awareness of this treatment for
Yes.
other people that are going through chemo and radiation and losing their manliness because they're taking a drug that's literally causing them to not feel like a man anymore, you know?
But on the flip side, hey, I'm above all that. And I go back to when Jesus prayed in the garden. Okay, do I have to, die on the cross? Is there any way that this cup can pass from me?
Yes.
Whatever, your will. Even Jesus went through that. Yeah. So that's where I've been is, God, I would like to be completely healed. I know you can do it today. Nonetheless, whatever you desire, whatever you want, I completely trust you. And that's actually when it's 100% trust like that, which I've got to work at all the time. It's lighter and easier.
Sure. Oh, I can imagine.
It's just a release physically. Okay. He's got this.
Yes.
And to those that don't believe, it does sound pretty strange. When I step back, like, that is weird.
But even if I think if you don't believe and you listen to you too, and you listen to your testimony, just like the lady in Mexico who just wanted to sit there. She wasn't a believer, but she wanted to come. Mm-hmm. There's something there. People are attracted to, and they know it's good for your soul.
Yeah.
So, well, you two are very inspirational, and I hope everything works out, and I hope we get rid of this crazy system, this medical system that just blocks people from getting the treatment they need. And I hope we can do something to help that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so good luck to you guys over the next few months, a year or so, as you're going through this, and be praying for you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Something, just one more thing. Think about all the money in our insurance system and the medical system and the amazing breakthroughs in technology and all these different devices. And then now this treatment that I'm going to be able to take part of. What if we could shift a lot of that energy and thought process and money into move it upstream and create health in people's lives? What if insurance would cover eating organic food rather than, what if some of the money could cover those things?
I mean,
It'd be so much cheaper.
We would be a healthy nation again, and there would be a lot of upset people that are in the insurance world, and who know, that's why that's the fight. That's the fight, is to break through that massive bureaucracy and to allow people to access what they need and to be direct with their doctors, and the doctors be direct back and not be hampered by all of this regulation.
Do you ever wonder why in the Super Bowl it's all Geico, Allstate, Pfizer, all these other, why do I need to see a commercial about a drug that I can't prescribe myself? My doctor asked me, why are you showing me this? Insurance is mandatory. I have to have it. What do I need to see a commercial for? So they're going to spend $15 million on a 30-second spot several times throughout a game. Like that's, I mean, but they can't afford, sorry, man, that treatment's too expensive. We can't afford to have you eat organic. That's just too expensive. There's no way we could really, but you could, I'm seeing these commercials on TV every single day.
Yeah.
It's
a really good point.
Really a good point. And
Yeah,
it's
it is.
really shocking. And it's time to get uncovered.
Yeah.
It's time. And I do love that it is slowly being brought to our attention, that we've been blinded for a really long time. And I think that has been the thing that has triggered me to speak and be so bold, is that I feel like my head was in the sand. Like I just didn't see it. And now all of a sudden I'm seeing it.
Well, we're a part of a system. We don't
Yes.
see a lot of the things that are a part of our system. We just go along. We trust experts.
Yep.
But something has happened in the last, 5 or 10 years or something. The cracks there have been things getting through the cracks. Maybe social media has allowed that. The mainstream media does not have a lock on us like they used to. Podcasts and social media outlets are allowing that through, even with the C word. That cracked. There were enough cracks to get people to understand what's going on. And I'm hoping, we just had, RFK Jr., who seems to be the most preventative health, person that I've seen. Hopefully there's some progress that can be made there so that we are not constantly fighting the insurance companies and the regulations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These things.
That was a part of it. There's a guy and his sister, Callie and Casey Means.
Yes, of course.
I was listening to them, and I think RFK Jr. was on the podcast, or he was about to be, but they were talking about specific codes and things in our insurance, which I am so familiar with now because of, okay, or is this going to be covered? Well, we need the CMS code. And okay. And I still don't understand it all. Well, why is it so complex? And that was their point. So it is so complicated. What we need is like the open door.
Yeah.
Because if this works, then let's cover it and get this guy healed.
Yes.
Instead of my doctor telling me about this when we first met him last June is when I first heard about this treatment I'm getting, and it took that long, and we've not been waiting around. He's been working on it. We've been working on it, and he's got the inroads. He's the oncologist. He was
trying to get it approved through our insurance in state.
Yeah.
And he couldn't get that to work.
And he's got a friend that works in the FDA, and this guy keeps telling him, okay, it looks like we're getting somewhere. So I think there's so many good people within these, even some of these big pharmaceutical companies. Most of the people are amazing, and they want to help people. I've got he's my cousin's husband that works high up in one of these companies. And he said, man, I'd love to talk to you. You got to know, we want to help people break through this stuff, but everyone has the same kind of mentality. Well, we have this and that, and
shareholders.
So who is that? And what is this? And I think that is exactly to your point. It is this Leviathan.
Yes.
But hey, we could take it down,
Yeah. We just got to keep plugging away at it.
You just got to speak up.
Yep.
Just keep punching and punching and punching until it finally breaks, and then build it again, or whatever we have to do. However it looks, it should be more like what you guys have experienced in Mexico, and with the hive, and being able to access the drugs. If you have to go all the way to these drugs or isotopes, being able to access that when you need it, shouldn't be a complex thing.
Yeah.
So just to continuous fight. And it does look like we are making ground, because we did elect somebody who seems to care about that. So I think maybe that's a good sign that America's changing.
I believe so. We believe so.
Yeah.
We're going to be the change we want to see in this world.
Yeah.
So many times people say to shine. And that's like my whole mantra in life, is that for a long time I was looking for someone else to shine, I was looking for someone else to speak up. And now I'm like, you know what? We have to be it. We have to be the ones to speak up. We have to be the ones to shine, because if we don't do it, we can't expect anybody else to. So thanks for having us.
Thank you so much.
Yes, yeah.
Thanks, guys. See you, everybody.